I'm Stephanie Kirmer, and I'm a data scientist at Uptake. I work in fuel efficiency and in rail. One of the failures that we were presented with that needed to be solved was the exhaust gas recirculator on diesel locomotives. The diesel locomotive has quite a bit of exhaust that is output and that goes into the environment unless you use systems like an EGR, as it's called, to recirculate that gas back into the engine and run it through again. But unfortunately, the exhaust gas recirculators on a particular form of locomotive that we got access to were having problems occasionally with cracking because very, very hot air is being passed out of the engine and then cooled down very quickly. So cracking was happening because very hot, very cold, very hot, very cold. When we found out about this, it was just maybe 1 or 2 months after these locomotives were starting to operate, and it was a very big issue. We got some data for the 1 or 2 proven cases of this failure that we knew about. There are sensors in pressure a number of points along the path that the gas follows, and so identifying the pressure that's expected and the actual pressure being read off of the sensors at different points can make it possible to understand how the gas is moving. You can also see temperature sensors throughout the process of where the gas is passing through the system, where it should get very hot and then cool down. We also can look at coolant levels, because when a crack occurs in the exhaust gas recirculator, coolant passes into the exhaust system. We can look at coolant temperatures, because that very hot gas meeting up with the coolant can increase the temperature of the coolant. And then I used that information to identify what the failure signature was. The signals and the sensors readings, including things like pressure and temperature, that were really important to being able to identify when this failure was imminent. In just maybe 2 or 3 months, I was able to produce a model that from start to finish was able to predict these failures days or even weeks before they became catastrophic, and then we could prevent that failure from happening if preventative maintenance was applied in time. So when we were able to stop these from happening, that meant that engines were not being drastically damaged on the track, causing backups of rail traffic, but also the need to replace the entire engine in some cases. And we made this possible so that we could save the customer quite a bit of money, but also time and resources in the repairs. Once we got this model produced, it was really valuable because we could go back to the customer and talk to them about what we determined were the physical manifestations of this failure, and then they can use that information, the information from our model, for future engineering to make sure that this doesn't happen again.